So about marketing now. So we heard so much about economics now and about production and about everything, just a little bit about marketing. Here at the Center for Agroforestry, we have worked for about 12 years to do research on markets for products that can be grown in agroforestry settings. And we have done this in a very good team with Mike Gold and with Larry Gutze. And we studied markets for red cedar, shiitake mushrooms, chestnuts, and elderberry. This is because we were doing research on the production for these crops, and it's so much better when you try to provide information to the landowner to adopt, to provide also. I try to speak louder. To provide also information about the markets and about prices and about how to market the products, and then is more beneficial. So we talked yesterday whole day and today about agroforestry being sustainable agriculture, providing environmental benefits, habitat for wildlife, but also about providing new market opportunities and diversified farm income. When you try to market, and people that try know, when you try to market very small specialty crops, very small niche products that can be grown in agroforestry, the producer has all kinds of challenges because there is no, like John Monsell said yesterday, the market is so informal and immature, and there are new markets and no information about the market. So it's really hard to think about all these products and to provide recipes, how to market the products. So what I will try to do today, just to provide a framework, an approach on how to approach marketing of these kind of products to overcome some of the challenges. And I will talk a little bit about how to conduct market research and how to develop marketing strategies. This is if you go through a planning process, and we are going to go for the case study that is in this handbook, you will first start with establishing some objectives, and Larry put very clear what kind of objectives a farmer may have about profit, about protecting the environment, about social objectives. So you start with establishing these objectives for your business or for your farm, and then you make a very thorough assessment of your site, how your site looks like, and all the features. And then you can make a decision, think about what kind of agroforestry practices may be suitable for that particular site, and come up with some ideas for products that can be marketable, that can bring you some profit if you want to get the profit. And I think everybody, like Larry said, not even if it's not the main goal, okay, the main goal is to protect the environment, but if I can make some money, it's also good. So this is just a list. Most of them can be grown in forest farming, but just a list of products. You may decide that you want to grow chestnuts or black walnuts or pawpaws in orchard setting or in alley cropping, or shiitake mushrooms or elderberry or woody florals, whatever. You can think about some of these products based on all the assessment and your objectives. But after that, once you decided on one of these specialty crops, you will find out very quickly that there is not much information about them out there. And you may know that there are some people producing the products and some people buying them, but what's in between the producer and the consumer? We call this a black box. It's not much information you can try to find. And we need to do something to shed some light. We have all these questions, especially when you start a business. How do I get in the market? What are my costs? What are the wholesale and retail prices? Where can I buy what I need for my business and for what price? Is the supply I need readily available? Who are my customers? What do they want? For how much can I sell my products? Who are my competitors? What are they doing? What can I do different than them? So these questions and many others are in the producer's mind when they start producing. And unlike for commodity markets where you find all this information, and even for larger specialty crops, you can find all kinds of statistics, but not for these niche specialty crops. And then you need to do something about it and to open this black box and to shed some light. So what you do, you try to do some research. First, you look what others have done, what's out there, what some universities maybe have researched, or some other growers, and you have some case studies, or published reports or studies, or even business directories or journals, magazines. So you look outside what others have done about this subject. And this is called secondary research, or looking at secondary sources of information. And then you start to do your own homework, and you start to collect your own information. You can do some interviews, talk to other producers, talk to consumers, with others along the value chain. You can do some observations. You go just walk through the farmer's market and see what other growers are selling the products for, or in the retail store. Go to field days that other growers put up, and even do some surveys or focus groups, and just try to collect as much information as possible about the product and about the market. And after that, you need to organize this information. And we recommend 2 tools to organize this information and to use them as a tool for decision making. SWOT analysis is one of them. I think everybody heard about that. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you look at your farm or business as a unit, and you look first internally and try to see what you can do better, what can you do best, what are some things that help you accomplish your personal objectives or farm objectives, and this would be the strengths. And also you look at what maybe I need to improve, and I wish I could do better, and I improve them if I can, or not, at least I'm aware of them, and I will base my decision, so I will, based on these weaknesses that I have and I cannot improve. So these are internal strengths and weaknesses. And opportunities and threats are external to the business. So you look in the business environment and see what trends are favorable to the business, and these would be opportunities, and what trends are unfavorable, and these would be threats. So you want to set some objectives and to develop a strategy that will capitalize on your strengths and will consider your weaknesses, try to improve them if possible, or if not, at least consider them, and to take advantage of opportunities and minimize the threats as much as possible. I try to give an example, like a farmer who would like to start to grow elderberry. He may have previous farming experience, and this will be a strength. Land available. Let's say he will have children returning to the farm, and then he will have enough workforce, and location close to a big city. All of this would be strengths for that business. But he may have just moderate finances, and he's going to work with a seasonal and perishable product, and none in the family has any marketing skills. So he will list these as weaknesses. And then also as opportunities, there may be new cultivars made available, and so cultivars that have been researched and now are available for this region he can plant. This would be an opportunity, maybe an elderberry co-op in the area that he can sell to, and also the increased interest in locally produced food for consumers. He can consider this also an opportunity. As threats, he can consider competition from imports. There is a lot of elderberry concentrate that is imported in the US, and increased federal and state regulation, and maybe some years with drought. Elderberry don't like drought, so maybe this can be also a threat. So you need to consider everything that is involved in order to make a good decision. So this is one of them. The other one that we used is the Porter 5 Forces model. This model was developed by Michael Porter in 1980. Michael Porter is a management professor at Harvard University. And this model is applied to make management decisions for businesses, for industries, for regions. And it has, it has been first introduced to study markets for specialty crops. It was Larry's idea, so I need to give him credit. And we have used it since for all our market studies. What we like about it is that it provides a very comprehensive view about the business environment. It looks from multiple angles, and this is what we like. It helps you summarize all this information that you can get about the market and the industry, and helps you in the decision process. So it looks first at potential entrants, at barriers to entry. If you want to enter a new market, you would like to have an easy entry. You don't want the market barriers to be too high. But once in the market, you would like to build some barriers to protect you from other entrants. And these are the barriers to entry are things that incumbent firms create in order to protect themselves from others entering the market. And this can be production cost and cost to establish a business, can be economies of scale. The bigger you get, your output per unit will be lower. Proprietary knowledge and experience that you gain to develop that product. And so this would be like for potential entrants. It also, the model looks at potential suppliers. What do I need to produce my product? Is the supply available? Can I find quality supply? Do I have enough suppliers to choose from? Do they dictate the price? Can I negotiate the price? If the supply is not readily available, can I produce it? We had for elderberry growers and value-added producers, both the plants and the berries are in very short supply. And what happens, all the elderberry growers propagate their own plants, and most of the value-added producers grow their own elderberry because they don't find enough supply available to purchase. Again, it looks at the buyers. On the other side, I need to sell my products. Do I have buyers for my products? What do I know about them? What are their preferences? Are there any buyers that would have the power to dictate the price? Am I selling like in a commodity market? Or am I able to set my own price? So all these questions need to get answered. Also about substitutes, is my product going to be in any way unique? Can I differentiate my product? Would the consumers, if my price gets too high, would the consumer switch to another product, or will they still buy my product? And it also looks at the competition. Are there other businesses producing the same products in the market, or do they cooperate? Is there any rivalry among them? And especially for these small niche specialty crops, we found a lot of cooperation for most of them. All of the markets are new, are at the beginning, and they need to grow, and they need the help of everybody, and they just cooperate, not too much rivalry. I try to give an example from the our shiitake mushroom study. So if we are looking at barriers to entry, the cost to establish a log-grown shiitake operation is not very hard, not very high. Like Nicola said, if you have your farm especially, and if you have your forest, so you can take the logs from the forest, then you may just need some drills to drill the holes, to buy the spawn. It's not, the cost to establish the business is not very high. But then come the marketing cost to sell the product. There is this production and marketing knowledge that needs to be acquired through experience. It has been so many years for Nicola to perfect the production and the marketing, and all this information that she got during all these years will be very hard to be matched by somebody that just comes into the business. So she already creates, through all this information, all this trial and error she went through already, she creates some barriers around her. And also, you create reputation through quality customer service and consistent supply. It's exactly what she mentioned yesterday. She created all this reputation and trust with restaurants, with the chefs that she supplies to, and through the quality of her products. And I think Rich asked her yesterday if there is more room in the market, if there probably you won't want to get exactly to sell to the same restaurants that she sells, because she already created these barriers around her. But you may try to find other venues, or to differentiate your product. So this is another way to enter the market and to take care of, to take in considerations all these barriers that exist. Suppliers, there is a limited number of spawn suppliers, but there is a good relationship between suppliers and producers. Nicola mentioned she's a good friend with the supplier producer, and I guess there are not so many shiitake growers or specialty mushrooms growers, and there is enough supply. None of them in our study complain about that. They sell especially in local markets, to gourmet restaurants, to farmers market, and on farm. And shiitake mushrooms can get high prices, and they usually try to maintain the price high. Especially because low-ground shiitake look much better and are of much better quality than the sawdust produced in Pennsylvania that you see in the grocery store. So I love shiitake, but I wouldn't buy those little, and I don't like the ones that I see in the grocery stores. It's good to identify your substitutes for your product. So especially for shiitake mushrooms, we identify there are the button mushrooms and portabella mushrooms that are more available, but and with a lower price. oyster mushrooms would be about the same price and availability, and there are some other specialty mushrooms, higher priced, but not so available as shiitake. And competition, again, our respondents said that they perceive competition mostly from the sawdust-grown shiitake because they are large quantities. These firms that used to grow button mushrooms and portabella now diversify to shiitake because shiitake are in demand, but they have all these facilities that they use, and they have access to the distribution channel. So they are the ones that go into the grocery stores and sell. And they perceived them as competitors, not so much the other fellow shiitake growers that grow on logs. So next steps after you decided what were your products that you may want to produce, and you did all this research and you organized this information. Now you have a base to make a decision. This product is a go or is not a go. Would I go with this product or not? And if you decide to go, then you need to do more research to really identify the needs of the customers. Who are the customers I'm going to sell to? And to formulate marketing strategies to meet the needs of the target markets. There are so many businesses that produce a product and try to sell it after that. The good business first look at the consumer side, try to identify consumer preferences, select that target market that for which he can better match a product and develop marketing strategy to satisfy that specific market. Consumers out there are very different. They are different in so many ways, and you want to understand very well what are their preferences and to slice that market and choose the one that you can produce the better product for them and you can satisfy most of their needs. You can segment the market based on demographic characteristics, geographic location, or psychographic, they are called, like based on lifestyle, behavior, values, or attitudes. And select one or two target markets that you would like to go for. What I mean by that, you try to create a customer profile. Who are these customers? Where are they? What do they need? How do they buy? How large is this segment? Even if you have the best products for a number of people, if they are not large enough, you may not want to consider it. And I gave, again, an example for elderberry jelly. Let's say you produce elderberry jelly and you can sell it online. You can sell nationwide online. If you describe people that would purchase online, they are younger, they have moderate to high household income, high level of education, but they are more price sensitive. They like the comfort from shopping from home, but they shop for lower prices, most of them. If you shop online, you don't care so much about where it was produced, about the label, but if you target health food store customers, then you will probably sell regionally. They are older, they have higher household income, high level of education, but they are health conscious and less price sensitive, and you probably can get a higher price, but you need to put more effort in designing your product, in designing your label, in getting into the health food stores. So so the products that are for these two market segments that I just said, the products for these two market segments might be a little bit different, or that at least not the products so much different, but the strategies, the marketing strategies may be different. The product may look a little bit different, and the distribution strategy will be different, the price may be different, and even the way you promote your products may be different. So after you know which are your consumers, what is your target market, you can start to think about how your product will look like. And you can sell elderberry by itself, just harvest elderberry and sell to Terry Durham or to a winery or to a co-op, or you can process it and sell value-added products. This is Terry, by the way, and we are going to meet him tomorrow. There are many ways of adding value. First is processing. So for sure, by processing, you extend the availability and shelf life of your product. You may get higher returns. You can use lower quality products, like Nicola said, the smaller mushrooms she can dry. You will diversify your market outlets. You can sell in farmers market, you can sell in health food stores, but you might need higher investment and expertise. Processing is not the only way to add value to a product. You can add value by providing extra convenience. You can deliver your product to the buyer. You can provide, like Nicola showed us, the meals that are easy to prepare, provide recipes, provide cooking demonstrations. All of these add value to your product. Through customer service, also you can add value, and through the product image, healthy, environmental friendly, locally produced or organic, command a higher price. So this is about the product. Then you need to think how you get your products to the buyers. And you can market direct to consumer through farmers markets, to farms outlets, pick your own, CSA or internet. By distributing directly to the consumer, you capture a larger share of consumer spending, and also you create this closer relationship with the consumer. You can do both. Like Nicola said, she sells to restaurants, but she also likes to sell in farmers markets, where you can talk to the consumer and especially educate. This is so important for specialty crops, to try to educate the consumer and explain about the benefits of growing on logs or the health benefits of elderberries. But the risk is a little bit higher. The product is in your possession until it gets in the hands of the consumer. You can also use intermediary distribution. You can sell to wholesalers, distributors, co-ops, or retailers. You share the risk with the buyer, but there can be all kinds of challenges. The large distributors or wholesalers may require a constant and dependable supply, maybe large quantities that you cannot provide, and can be a challenge to maintain the quality of your product along the value chain. What happened with chestnuts, as long as the growers grew their chestnuts and sold online or in farmers market, everything was okay. The consumer got quality products, because especially these first growers that started to grow chestnuts, they knew their job, and they knew how to do post-harvest management and to refrigerate the chestnuts. So they were selling very good quality chestnuts. What happened when they started to sell in retail, in grocery stores, the product managers, they did not know what to do with the chestnuts, and they kept them outside with the walnuts, with the other nuts, instead of keeping them with the vegetables in refrigerated. So they spoiled, and the consumer, by the time the chestnuts got into the hand of the consumers, that they were very bad quality. So it's a lot of education from the producer side. We tried to go and talk with, we found some very bad chestnuts in Hy-Vee, and we tried to talk with the product manager. And even with our chestnuts, when we first sold them in clovers, the first year, the product manager didn't want to put them in the refrigerator. She said, okay, I understand, but this is a better place for them. I won't let them overnight, so only during when the store is open, and after that I will refrigerate, bring them back. But still, this doesn't do too much good to the chestnuts. But it took for us a little bit of work to educate, and next year they were in refrigerated area. And now I'm sure all the chestnuts that she sells, she keeps them in refrigerator area. So this is a lot of work with to work along the value chain, so you make sure that the products maintains its quality and integrity. Pricing, we talked about pricing. Can be challenging to set prices for specialty products. What others are charging for the same type of products? What are they charging? Do we know? When we started to look at the elderberry market, we didn't find too much information. And so how we do these studies, we do surveys, and then we followed up with phone interviews. So this is how we collected our information for the study. And for elderberry, and especially for just harvested elderberry, not for value-added products, we found prices from 50 cents a pound to $5 a pound. It was this variation. So when you say, okay, what others are charging, is very hard to find, and for some products it's very hard to determine. It depends if you have the power to set the prices. So this can be a challenge, but also can be an advantage, because you are not forced to take the price that others, like for commodities, that others are establishing for you. So you have the power, you may have the power to set prices if your product is differentiated, if you have a good reputation, or through promoting through your promotion strategy. And it also depends on the demand sensitivity to price changes. Would the consumer still buy your product if your price is too high? Would they pay the higher price or not? Or you can price to your cost to cover expenses and have a margin. But especially for the specialty crops, you try to keep your cost in mind and to cover your expenses, of course, but you try to price to the market. And I saw specialty crops producers that really very much, and Nicola mentioned the same thing, they set a high price because they know their product is of quality, and they won't go below that. I've talked with people that say, I better give them away than to drop the price. The consumer must understand that this is a very, very high value product that if they want, they must pay the premium price for it. It's different than what you find in grocery stores. So the last is the communication strategy. You need to develop a message. So it's very important, especially with specialty crops, to have a very good communication strategy. There are products that are unknown. There are products that their benefits are not known enough. So you need to have a very good message to communicate freshness or local or healthy or sustainably produced. You can use ads, flyers, press releases, tasting samples. Free publicity is very good. If you can generate it, you can participate in festivals, fairs, work with local charities, so you can generate publicity from your community and just to get to be known. Nicola showed that picture with her serving the governor, everything that you can get to get the word out about your products and to educate about chestnuts. We organize chestnut roast. We go in farmers markets. We roast chestnuts and give chestnuts away. We have the Living Windows Festival in December when we freeze to death, but we stay there with the chestnuts and tell people that they are healthy and they are good for them. So here we are demonstrating pawpaws. So we sold the pawpaws from $1 a piece, but we had all samples, free samples for people to taste. Mike is offering samples here. So again, you need to think how you deliver your message, radio, word of mouth, social media now, how frequent, and of course, consider the cost. Free publicity is better, as I said. This is cooking demonstration at our Chestnut Rose Festival. And again, the Chestnut Rose Festival selling chestnuts. So after you have all this information, all what we have just talked about, starting with goals and all the market research and all the strategies, plus the marketing budget will be part of the marketing plan. So in conclusion, I said that I'm trying to provide a framework. So this would be the framework, starting with the goals and objectives that you have for the whole farm and business, the biophysical site assessment, and getting to a list of potential best bets, we call them in this guide, and then doing some market research, collect information, organize the information using SWOT analysis and Porter 5 Forces model, refining these choices of products, and then carefully planning, identifying that target market that you want to go for, those consumers, and then formulate a marketing strategy, product, distribution, price, and communication. This is called marketing mix, especially for that target market, and finalize the marketing plan. Of course, this is not something that you go once through it. You go over and over and refine and implement and evaluate and change and grow. Start small and grow, like everybody is saying. Okay, questions?
Time for questions.
So for all of the decision models that Dr. Gotzi's done, the 5 forces models was done for all of those?
Not for the decision models, for our market research studies that are on
They haven't done white walnut, chestnut, elderberry.
You were saying you use surveys as the initial tool for that?
not to develop the market, not to develop the decision support.
Yeah.
Oh, on 5 forces, we did use surveys.
You said surveys, I
Yeah.
followed those up with
We also did shiitake mushroom and rapeseed on 5 forces. And what else do we use?
Red cedar, shiitake, chestnuts, and
Black
So-
walnut?
no. So for all these 4 products, we did surveys, and we followed up with phone interviews, and we collected all this information. When we designed our surveys, the surveys were designed based on the Porter 5 Forces model. So we had questions about how difficult it is to enter the market, are you going to protect after you are in the market, did it take to become successful and to remain successful? How did you find your supply? What about your buyers? What about substitutes? So the survey was designed based on the Porter 5 Forces model and the interview protocol also. And then after we got this information, we analyzed the information and we put together the reports for the market. But they were not the base for creating the decision support system. Yeah.
So then, how successful were you in getting some of those surveys back? I mean, they're pretty small returns, or is it?
Maybe a third, 33%.
Okay.
Something like that, yes.
You know, we
It was even higher for elderberry, but we tried, there is not so many people doing these specialty crops out there anyway, so we tried to do a census. We tried to identify everybody involved. So we sent to everybody, and then, so for elderberry, it was higher than 30%. Yes. And but the problem was that we got a lot of responses, not only from growers, so we sent to everybody along the value chain. So we got a lot of responses for elderberry from nurseries. And there are not so many nurseries specialized only for elderberry plants or for berry in general or for fruit. So they were large nurseries maybe selling elderberry among all the, so if you take those out, then they were not so valuable. But
In some of those players along that value chain, did you have to essentially identify them through speaking to growers that they knew? And
yes. So we did
Snowball.
snowball. Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. We did that.
again, the whole idea is with so many of the things that we're trying to produce that are not corn, soybeans, wheat, cattle, we just don't have the market information. You can't go to the National Ag Statistics Service. There isn't data. The first chestnut data ever was in the 2007 census. So the next one that comes out will be our first chance to see what we assume how things have grown over the last 5 years period. But you can't, for most of these things that are all the interesting, what did you call them? The purple, the colored berries, lots of these niche crops. You just can't find it. You have to get it yourself. And so that creates, for most people, a much higher risk factor. Those few people that somehow make it are doing great because nobody knows what they're doing and how they're doing and what they're selling for. But that really precludes a lot of folks from getting in, or they fall on their face. Because we deal with elderberry folks and chestnut folks, etc., we find a lot of folks don't take the time to figure out how to price to a profit. And they pick some arbitrary number. So we find organic chestnut seller who's very much a hobbyist, goes into Columbia Farmers Market and sells for $3 a pound. We take our own material in there and sell for $5 a pound. And I went up to her and I said, you know, you're undercutting the price and you could get $8 a pound. And she says, I don't really care. But that hurts everybody.
They don't know how to price it.
They don't know how to price and they don't care. There's a lot of hobbyists out there in the specialty crop world, and a lot of those folks hurt the market initially. You got to be more full-time, more serious about it, and those people know how to price. Like Nicola, she won't even deal with the people that want to price her down. If Whole Foods says it won't pay, she won't deal with Whole Foods. She needs more customer base. Same thing with a lot of the other folks we deal with. You have a comment?
Oh, I just had a question. With the chestnut market, typically what you see in the market are European chestnuts and around the holidays. So how do you differentiate your local product from?
The question is, how do you differentiate the European chestnuts, which you find in the markets typically, especially in the East, from ours? The biggest advantage we have two of them. One is, as everyone in this room knows, if you can come up with a genuine being local, you're automatically in the door. More important than organic, pesticide-free, any other trend now is local, and that seems to be a solid and continuing trend. That's why farmers markets have gone from under 2,000 to over 8,000 in the last 17 years. So that's one. Another one, and this is a problem really for the import part of chestnut, is that when you move into the retail sector, produce managers do not know that they have to be refrigerated. So I find Italian chestnuts in little bags, sitting out there with, I don't know, the garlic. And they're horrible, hard little nuggets. They're horrible.
Oh, yeah.
And so we walk in there, I walk in there to sell my chestnuts, or all of our colleagues that do in the Chestnut Growers of America, and we know what they need to do, and if they don't want to do it, we don't want to let them even sell it. So there's a lot more attention to detail because we're right there versus the folks that come in, and they may not realize that when their stuff's coming into the States, it's getting trashed. You just sell it. And we have a big competitive advantage there. I think that's true for a lot of these niche crops.
And I don't know, I think Columbia area had a very great advantage from the center because we had all these chestnuts that we were able to give away. A grower may not be able to give so much away. So I think people in this area now knows that a good chestnut is like the one that we grow, the Chinese chestnuts. And 1 year we went in this Clover Season Natural store here in Columbia. We did a cooking demonstration, and we sold our chestnut. They were both our Chinese chestnuts, and we also had very large European chestnuts that were produced at our farm. Remember? Colossal. And yeah, it's not European Japanese hybrid. Not Chinese. So not the ones that they got accustomed with through our events, roasting chestnuts. And most of the people wanted to buy the smaller, the medium size, the one that they were used to. They didn't want to buy the larger one. And it was a discussion about size. Oh no, I read in your in the chestnut newsletter. Yeah. So I think we had an influence on the taste. They know now how a quality chestnut must look like. I think it's much harder if you don't have a university around like us. But we did a lot of work and with cooking demonstration, with roasting chestnuts, with selling chestnuts, with literature about chestnuts, why chestnuts, why are they good for you, and the same for elderberry, and the same for black walnut and pecan. And it might be harder to give away all these products like we did, but it's worth at least some to educate, and this is quality, and then they recognize quality. So I'm sure that everybody that came to one of the chestnut roasts or living windows or any of our events will think that the Italian chestnuts that sell in Schnucks are not very good quality, and they would prefer the Chinese one. And they also, the Chinese chestnuts, they don't, the pellicle doesn't stick to the chestnut, so when you, yeah, they peel easier. So if you tried ours, you won't buy the European ones.
I want to make a comment, and I'm sure this is happening in this group as well, or the people that we work with. When we go out to the Hart Farm, the Horticulture and Agroforestry Research Center, you'll see, a bunch of cultivars of black walnut, chestnut, and pecan, because we're looking over a very long period of time to see what's locally adapted, not just in terms of climate, disease, insect growth, form, etc., but also flavor, yield, and those kind of things. So if we have a drought year, a super cold winter, super hot summer, in a way we're happy for that, because we're taking the risk of finding out what works and what doesn't work. What concerns me a lot, and it's also relevant to this group, our personal view at this point, for example, is that if you go only about 30 miles north of here, you've hit the northern limit for commercial pecan production. Doesn't mean you can't grow a pecan in southern Iowa, northern Iowa, whatever, but they require a long, hot summer. That sticky, muggy night that people don't like down here is perfect for pecans. So from here south into Mexico, you get the right climate. You can grow a pecan tree fine in southern Michigan. In 1 year and 50, you're going to get enough to fill. The problem is that people say, oh, Dan Shepard can do it in Clifton Hill. Why can't I do it in Kirksville? Why can't I do it in Ames? My guess is you can't. All right? If you want to do commercial and you want to have a quality nut and you want it to fill every year, because you do, there's no germplasm trial up there at Ames or in Minnesota or in Madison. There isn't. Okay? So you're really taking on way more risk if you don't have a local somebody that's taking a look and say, well, how are the hazels here? How are the walnuts here? How are the pecans here? How are the chestnuts here? Way more risk. So you got to be careful when you see this kind of information and say, oh my God, they can do 2,000 pounds an acre and blah, blah, blah. That's the river hills, deep, nice, lush soils in mid-Missouri's climate zone. We find that our colleagues in southeast Minnesota get frosted out when we don't. We find that our colleagues in Lawrence, Kansas get frosted out when we don't. So, you know, that's not that far away, but their climates are a bit different than ours. So you got to keep that in mind. And that's one of the things we wish we could do more of, which is have, like they do with peaches and apples and all these other fruits, where the USDA used to pay enough money so that all the land-grant universities could share tests at all over the place. Okay? But we don't have those kind of things for a lot of these specialty crops. So if the cultivars Wildwood and Bob Gordon do real well in Missouri for elderberry, I don't know if they're going to do well in Minnesota. I don't know if they're going to do well in Virginia. I don't know if they're going to do well in Maine. Further away you get from our climate area, the iffier it gets. Doesn't mean it won't. But we just don't have these regional trials that are out there. So you have to know that when you're recommending things to people or trying them themselves. Be more careful. Don't go all in. And even if it looks great for 3 years, you might get that winter or summer that just knocks you out. Right? If the more it's away from your native habitat, the riskier you're getting. Yeah.
I have a question related to risk. As far as people or institutions or investors that take on risks to develop either the knowledge or the supply line, like the elderberry co-op idea, to make it easier for producers to join. Like, first of all, what are the couple crops that there are institutions or investors who have kind of stepped up to the plate? And then in other areas, what is it going to take to get the banks and the investors to invest so that as the smaller grower has a little more confidence that the knowledge is there and the infrastructure is there to be more successful?
Well, you know, Larry's tool puts the information together that means you thought it through, but you have to really combine that information with the actual experience of somebody who's done it for quite a long time. So for the lender, it is a big risk for most of these enterprises in most places, because if you look under the surface and you talk to me, I'll say, well, we really don't know. We really don't know if that's the right germplasm. It hasn't been tried here. It hasn't proven itself here. There's no long-term testing. That's just the reality. So, you know, you have to, if I was a lender, I wouldn't necessarily want to go in for a lot of these things because of what I know in many places around the country. You have to find alternative sources of funding, or grants, or specialty crop block grants. And SARE is phenomenally helpful to help you get launched, farmer rancher grants. And a lot of this, the information is, like I said, with agroforestry, it's a small community, but we know each other. Same thing with specialty crops. So join the Chestnut Growers of America and talk to everybody in your area and find out and learn from their mistakes. You know, Terry Durham has this big network of elderberry people and so on and so on. So whether it's the hazel or whatever, you know, whatever it is, blue honeysuckle, I don't know. People play with it and they find out, because universities don't have the resources really to catch up in most cases. We've been very blessed here to be able to put in these long-term, well-designed studies. But even so, if somebody contacts me from southern Minnesota and says, I want to grow what cultivar of chestnut, I'll say, I have no clue. Your climate is so different than ours. Even if we had the same soils, you're probably in trouble. You try them, but I don't know. So that's a limitation that we face here that isn't faced by the commodity crops.